All right, here we go. Today I'm going to be talking about film financing. What experience do I have in film financing? Well, my first 3 films I got financed myself. I've had 3 films at Sundance. One of them won the Audience Award, and I've had a film in Un Certain Regard at the Cannes Film Festival in France. So, I've made quite a bit of independent films that I've got financed myself. Okay, so to start off, my first film, Man Up, which I made in partnership with, if you guys don't remember this guy, his name was Kev Jumba. And this might not be as helpful because I don't think everybody can do this, but that film, I financed a third of it. Each one of us, me, Kev, and another company called Kinetic out of Hawaii, which is where we filmed it, financed a third of the film. I was able to do that because at the time I was making my money being an actor, in films like Twilight and blah, blah, blah. So I had a good nest egg of money that I could invest in a film. But I was betting on myself. So, the budget for that film total, I think, was $250. The production budget, I think, was maybe like $170 or so. So my portion was like $67 or around $70,000, or $60-something thousand for the production of the film. That doesn't include post-production and like sound mixing and VFX and all that stuff. Also, the other thing I want to say about this is my first 3 films, which I got financed myself, I wrote them. The first one with Kevin, the other 2, either Miss Purple I wrote with somebody, and then Gook I wrote by myself. I wrote it to fit the money that I thought I could get. So that's a very important aspect to this, is I didn't write a film that was impossible to make, that was going to be like $10 million. So, Man Up, that might not be as accessible to most, but let me talk about my second film, Gook. That won the Audience Award at the Sundance Film Festival, and this is actually something within people's grasp. Like, I literally, a lot of films that go to Sundance, they're like millions of dollars. We made that film for $200,000. Our production budget was $99,000. Now, how did I get that money? So, the first film, I basically lost all my money. I bet on myself. We were able to make some of that back. Frankly, if I knew that we weren't going to make a lot of money back, I would have really loved to give that movie away for free. And it would have been awesome to put it out on Kev Jumba's channel and just let people watch it, because we didn't make a lot of money from that in the first place. We were able to sell it to a company called Lakeshore, and they made like Underworld and all that stuff, but they're out of business now. That's a whole nother story. But for Gook, $99,000 production budget. I wrote the film to be very, very cheap. I shot it in black and white, and we were able to get the camera from a friend for free. And this is where I think my time in film really helped me, because I had pre-existing relationships. But Nam and a girl named Lily, they had a cube truck full of a bunch of gear. And the main location, which was a old gas station that we made into a shoe store in Glendale, we were able to get that location for very, very cheap. I'll go into how I did all this in other videos, and I'll go through each movie and all the production challenges that I had. But that location, we rented for like very, very cheap, a few grand for a month. So, that being said, a lot of times when you make a film, you have like a studio or a producer. We didn't do that. So we had to do everything on our own. That's how you can do it for cheap, though, is that you're not, a lot of films, when you get it made off the top, you're getting a lot of fees taken away. So the producer has to take a fee, the studio has to take a fee, and by the time you go and make the film, you're like, oh my God, this budget has ballooned to like millions. This, we cut all of that out. I didn't pay myself. You know, my cinematographer didn't get paid. The actors got paid. SAG's like ultra low budget. And you know, we paid a certain people here and there. Obviously, we had to pay for certain rentals, like we rented a lens for the shoot. But ultimately, that we were able to finance that for $99,000. How did I get that money? Okay, so this is game. The first stop we took was asking friends and family for $3,000, $6,000, and $9,000 increments. And $3,000 got you a point ownership into the film. So I separated 50 points, so 100 points for a film. 50 points I separated for cast, crew, and also investors. So we split, in the case a movie makes money, which is a huge gamble because independent films that are made for like $200,000 usually don't make a lot of money because, you know, they don't have the same production value and blah, blah, blah. So we had 50 points to spread it out amongst ourselves. Each increment of $3,000 buys you a point. So what we did, okay, and then the other 50% goes to the cast and crew. So the 50% goes to investors, the other 50% goes to cast and crew for their time and having some sort of ownership equity for working for next to nothing or for free. So each $3,000 got you a point. It bought you a point. So we did 3, 6, and 9. How we did that at first was literally go to friends and family. $3,000 gets you a point, and we were able to raise a tiny bit of money to get us started. Us being insane, we started production without even having all the money in the bank. Then I went to a friend who named Alex Merbred. I met him on a film. He was the transpo driver. He drove all of us to work and did runs and stuff. I asked him, hey, do you know anyone with money? He's from France. He ended up, this is crazy, but he ended up, had a mutual relationship with a French prince who, it took us a while, but was thinking about giving us 30 grand. I had another friend who is like a big, you know, like a part of a huge company in New York, a translation company, and I had asked him for money. He willingly just like, because he was a friend, just gave me 30 grand right off the top. Now, we started our shoot with very little money, and we started shooting. Every day we shot, my editor Reynolds and Barney and Root Tang would edit footage together. I would basically create a sizzle reel, and anybody who was on the fence about financing, I would send the footage off and be like, hey, this is what we've been shooting. Does this look interesting to you? And that's how we started getting extra increments of 3, 6, and 9,000. Those two financiers, the Prince and my friend, 30 grand each, were basically the whales, right? So that got us 60 in. We still needed 40 grand to even just finish the production. You know, this is a story for another day, but basically we didn't even pay for permits to shoot in the city of Glendale. What we did was we laid out a bunch of hedge clippers so that when the police came, we said we were doing a landscaping just like commercial for a company because and I'll go way more into detail on another topic of just production, but that's how we skipped out on paying for a lot of those upfront costs that we would have to pay, but we didn't have the money. So we slowly started accumulating 3, 6, and 9,000, and as the movie started going, we were able to raise more and more money using the footage. You might ask me, why did I finance it this way? Well, as an Asian American filmmaker, when I took it to regular, like more traditional production houses, they wanted a lot of input on the script, and my film was about the LA riots. And the reason I made the film was my family got completely cleaned out during the LA riots in '92. We lost our entire store, and we had a very personal connection to this. I didn't want to write a story that I felt didn't represent my family's experience. And a lot of these places, they wanted like a cop to come in the middle of the film to save the day, and they wanted more Caucasian people. And I have no problem casting Caucasian people, but in this story, if you were there in the hood, it was mostly Mexican, Black, and Korean store owners. That's a topic for another day. But so I didn't want to take orders or notes from people that didn't understand the circumstances of the actual riots, and I wanted to make it very authentic. So that's why I needed to raise my own money. So with those 3, 6, and 9,000 increments, we were able to finish the shoot barely with the 99 grand. And it was like every few days was the most nail-biting, anxious, experiences of my life, because we would start running out of money, and then we would get an extra 3,000. And we'd start running out of money, and then we'd get an extra 6,000. And we were able to finish the film. So that's 99,000. Then, using the community, also David So was in the film. So he was very integral in helping, bring awareness to the film. But it's not like he could contribute the money to pay for the film. He was doing a little bit of posts to bring awareness, but that's about it. And then, and if you guys want, I could get David So on this on a video, and we could talk about the experience of making that film. But basically, once we got into post-production, I was editing it. I did not have the money for post, which includes the rest of the editing, sound mixing, a composer, what else? DCP. You need to make a DCP, which stands for Digital Compact Product or something. That's the digital file, basically hard drive, that you need to be able to play it in a projection in a theater. So that thing costs like sometimes $10,000. We got a deal for it. We did a partnership with a post-production house called Tunnel. And basically, I had been friends with this guy, Alan, for a while, who was a CEO of this production house. We worked out a deal where they would do things at a discount. In return, they put their name on it, and then, we had deferred payment. So if the movie made a certain amount of money, they would be first ones to get payment. And then the biggest way we got the rest of the money is through you guys, basically the community. My producer, Alex Chi, who is my life savior, and James Yee, who also helped me produce Man Up with Kev. These people were my saints. They were my backup. They were my rocks. They helped me launch a Kickstarter campaign, and we made a video, and we had perks and all this stuff. And through the community, we were able to raise the rest of the money, which was another maybe 100 grand. The composer gave us a sweet deal. It was a passion project, and I think a lot of film financing, developing pitch skills and communication skills and sales skills is incredibly important, because all these people that I brought on board, I had to prove to them why it was worth their time to do this for next to nothing. So with that said, the only commercial song, pop song that I had was Hall & Oates' Maneater. And I can go into detail, way deeper detail, on another video, but I had a friend who was friends with their lawyer, and we got that song for $5,000. Usually, songs that are famous, they can go from $100,000 to $200,000 to $300,000. We got it for $5,000 through a personal connection, but I had to go around all my contacts asking. So Jason 1, thank you. You are a lifesaver for being able to get us that song. Okay, I'll talk about one more film for this video because I don't, it's gonna be a very long video otherwise, is Miss Purple. So for Gook, it won the Audience Award. It got distribution through Samuel Goldwyn. It was in theaters and then on demand. That is incredible for a $200,000 film. I know that that distribution company made their money back, but through Hollywood accounting, a lot of times you're not gonna see a single cent because they say, oh, a staple cost. And I'm not saying that these people did it. They probably did. I don't know. But a staple costs like $20 or whatever the hell. They'll make sure that it's very hard for you to get your money back. But what they did give us is a minimum guarantee, which is money upfront that they're willing to pay to buy the film, and through the recruitment of when the money comes in for the distributors, you have to pay that money back. It's kind of like the record industry. We took that money and we paid back all the investors, to get them their investment back, to do goodwill. Me, the producers, the cinematographer, all of us didn't make any money from that film. Okay, I don't think I've ever talked about this actually in public, but we didn't make a single cent from that film. We gave it all back, and we made sure we were honest and ethical, and we made sure that the investors got paid back. So when we went to go make our third movie, Miss Purple, which also went to Sundance and was in competition, and it won some other awards throughout the country. It's actually my favorite film I've ever made, in my opinion. We were able to ask those investors to come back and invest in our film. Mind you, that film was even cheaper than Gook. The reason I did that is I wanted to create a body of work before I go into the studio system and have the studio system kind of tell me what to do. I wanted people to see true expression from my creativity before that kind of push and pull started to happen. But so a lot of the investors said yes. We still had to go and raise a little bit, but we shot that movie production budget for $90,000. Also, in addition to that, the wonderful cinematographer on that, Auntie Chang, he got a grant from a production company, and he could use it however he wanted as a cinematographer to go shoot a proof of concept, whatever, and it was 10 grand. He put that money into the film. True believer, right? True godsend. Like, all these movies happen because it's like a family, and it's like people who just want to make films that are like, really, it's not about money. And I just want to be completely upfront. These first three movies, I didn't make a single dollar, dude. Like, when everything was said and done, I lost money because I would take people out to dinner. I would pay for stuff out of pocket. So when I look back at these three films, I lost money. But that wasn't the point. The point was to make Asian American films that I felt represented my experience and the experiences of people around me growing up, in the United States. So that film, we were able to roll over the investors from Gook, but we made it for even less. And that film also, though, I think the script was not as commercial. It was much more artistic. And that's how we got that film financed. And then again, once we finished, and by the way, everybody on that film worked for free. Everybody worked for free. The production designer, everybody. You know what? Actually, we did pay certain people. I think Eunice, our wardrobe designer, got paid something. I think our production designer got paid something. The actors got paid nothing. It was not a union job. It was not SAG. And, they were willing to do that. But I was very upfront that this is what was going to happen, that, if you're going to do this, you got to be down for that, and because this movie is like basically an art film. So we paid for some stuff, but a lot of it, we were able to do everything for next to nothing. And for film, $90,000 is nothing. Like just even paying for everybody's food for 30 days, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, ends up costing an insane amount of money, just feeding people, you know, and then also like the camera gear and everything, it just like adds up so quick. Once we finished production, we did the same thing. We went back to the community and we asked one more time for a Kickstarter. I don't know if I would do that again because I've asked twice. That is why I feel like it's part of my responsibility to continue to tell these stories in the commercial space, because I don't want to keep asking for a handout, you know, for every single movie. Doesn't mean I won't do it again. Doesn't mean I might not come back out and be like to the community, please, this is my magnum opus or whatever it is. But you know, I can't do that for every film. I don't think it's right to do, and I want to respect our community, and I also want to make my own way as well. But that is how I financed my first 3 films. I did Kickstarter again. I went back to Tunnel and Alan and asked for a deal. And it was really, ultimately, the graciousness and the generosity of the community. You know, mostly Asian Americans, but there were also allies in other communities that really wanted to see us win and contributed and invested in us. But man, I have to say, you know, the first one I had to bet on myself. I had to use my own money and show that I was capable of doing it. Then I had something to show that I was able to do this. And then the second one was mainly like those 2 whales, Pierre and Jin, Jin. Like if it weren't for them, that movie would not have been made, because $60,000 is a huge sum. Even though the production budget was only $99,000, that really was allowed us to get more than halfway into the film, and built confidence with the other investors that this movie's getting made and that somebody was willing to put in money. And then that film, using the confidence of making a good film, roll it over to the third film. This is how I made 3 independent films completely on our own, outside of the system, and was able to take to the Sundance Film Festival, which is the premier film festival in the United States. It's like the creme de la creme. It's the NBA of film festivals. You know, just with heart and with a lot of people that believed in the vision. And to this day, I still work with a lot of those people, and I am forever grateful to them. And it's why I have a career in writing and directing and producing, is because of everybody who chipped in. And also those people, because of these films, have been able to branch out and have really prolific, successful careers. You know, Eunice, a wardrobe designer, is having an incredible run. Auntie is doing incredible films and has done a Marvel TV show. And I'm, you know, doing the films that I care about and love. So yeah, that's how I financed my first 3. If you want, I can go into how my experience was the first time I was semi in the system with a mini major on my film Blue Bayou. But I just want to start disseminating information that I feel is valuable, and I don't want to gatekeep. So this information is for you guys. If you guys have any other questions, let me know, and I'm just going to keep making videos like this. Also, I'm going to make dumb videos about, you know, me being depressed and very lonely in Russia. But you know, I think these kind of videos are very, very valuable for you guys, and I can go into more granular details about each thing. I think this is more of a general financing sort of video, and I don't want to belabor it. So if you want me to go into more specifics about a certain aspect, or if you want me to go into production, I'll do that in subsequent videos. All right, thanks. Have a great day.